Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Internet connection is poor. So I am using my mobile internet now. Let us see. So tomorrow after the class, after the 3:30 class, so it ends at 4:30. Does any of you have any classes after 4:30, or can we continue for a few minutes after 4:30? Does anyone has any class on after 4:30 tomorrow?
No, sir.
BTech students, BTech fourth year, BTech dual degree fifth year, MTech, no classes, huh? Nobody. So in case we cannot complete, we will continue for a few more minutes after this, because up to that part is important. We want to finish this part before the midsem, because tomorrow is the last class before your midsem exam. I have uploaded one set of problem set containing a few problems today in MS Teams, you might see. So it is just for practice. You don't have to submit, although I have given it as assignment. It's just for practice. Again, no connect, no internet. So what is this problem? Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Miss, my voice is breaking or it is clear?
Few times, sir.
Clear, sir.
Okay, okay. Why is it showing no internet? So apart from the problems I have given and one or two problems that we have solved in the class, one or two we will solve in the next class tomorrow on real cycles. So practice similar type of problems. Ideal cycle problems you can practice from the book of Ganeshan. Real cycle problems I don't recommend the book. Means you can try the problems that are present in Ganeshan, but don't solve in the way that is given there. Solve in the way we discuss in the class. The way it is given in Ganeshan and other books is very simplistic way. Okay, not the uh, not exhaustive or uh, not in a very detailed, accurate way. The solutions, lot of assumptions are taken. We will do it in a more accurate way. So that type of problem is present in the book by El Sayed Ahmed. Maybe I will give you some problem numbers. I will send you an email with some problem numbers from El Sayed Ahmed book. Okay, I hope everybody has got that book soft copy by now. So take a look at those problems for real cycles. Okay, for real cycles, so that you can practice. Expect a lot of problems in the exam. Lot of means not much scope is there into our exam, but 2-3 problems might be there. Okay, not many theory type of question, either short questions or problems. Not much, or graphs or plots. Lot of graphs or plots. Not many questions like describe Brayton cycle. Not this type of questions. Okay, so let us start. We have a lot of things to cover today. Uh, so we were discussing about. So if you remember, going back to two classes, we have started discussing about real cycles. Okay, and we noted what are the differences between real cycles and ideal cycles. 8 points we had noted, and one by one we started discussing. So the first point we had discussed that we need to take into account the kinetic energy into the calculation, and how did we do that? We do that using stagnation properties of temperature, enthalpy and pressure. Stagnation are total properties of enthalpy, temperature and pressure. And instead of static properties, you can just use stagnation properties for each of these problems. Then the second and the main difference was that uh, that compression and expansion processes were not reversible. They were irreversible processes. Okay. So although adiabatic but irreversible processes. So for that we noted that one way to take that into account into calculation is that by defining an isentropic efficiency for the compressor and the turbine, like you have done in your thermodynamics course. An isentropic efficiency of the compressor, which is the ratio of the ideal work input by the real work input. Similarly, an isentropic compression for the turbine, isentropic efficiency for the turbine, which is the ratio of real work output by ideal work output. Okay. And so we were continuing this point. So, and we noted that there is another way of taking this irreversibility into the calculation. Instead of defining isentropic efficiency, we can define something called polytropic efficiency. Okay. We can define something called polytropic efficiency. And the reason for defining this polytropic efficiency is that the definition of isentropic efficiency is fine if we consider a very small stage, means not much pressure difference is occurring. But if you consider a real stage or a real compression or a expansion process in a compressor or turbine, undergoing a certain pressure ratio like pressure change, in that case the efficiency actually changes with increase in pressure ratio. So the efficiency changes. For compressor, the efficiency actually decreases with increase in pressure ratio. For turbines, the efficiency increases with increase in pressure ratio. This has to do with the fact that the ideal line keeps on diverging from the actual line keeps on diverging from the ideal line in a TS diagram. Okay, for the process, and and also the fact that the constant pressure lines are diverging towards the right hand side. Okay, so accounting for these two things, we note that the isentropic efficiency of lower stages will be better for the compressor as compared to higher stages, as you can see from this diagram. Okay, so as a result, it is better to define some efficiency which is known as polytropic efficiency or small stage efficiency, which is defined as the isentropic efficiency. This is also an isentropic efficiency. Okay, it's an isentropic efficiency for an infinitesimal stage taken anywhere along the process. So as a result, this value by definition is constant. This efficiency is constant. It is denoted by this symbol eta infinity. For compressor, it is eta infinity C. For turbine, it is eta infinity T. So this eta infinity does not change wherever you take. Okay, if you take an infinitesimal process near the bottom, that also will have same efficiency, isentropic efficiency. If you take somewhere around the top, that also will have same efficiency. Okay, it is valid only for an infinitesimal pressure ratio. As a result, it is defined as, for a compressor, it is defined as ideal work input dTs by actual work input dt, not delta Ts delta T, dTs dt. Okay, infinitesimal differential terms, dTs by dt. My screen is visible to you, right? I forgot to ask you in the beginning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now let us, so we have discussed this in the previous class. So we will do some, we will go through some calculations based on this and try to find some relations, correlations. You can try similar cases. So for the compressor or for any isentropic process, we know that T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, or T by P to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma is constant for an isentropic process, where gamma is the ratio of the specific heats. Okay, so we can write this for this isentropic process going from 1 to 2s. For this process, the temperature Ts varies as a constant C1 into some value, some constant, arbitrary constant C1 into P to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, in this form we are writing. Instead of writing from going from 1 to 2, we are just writing in a general form. Okay, Ts is equal to C1 P to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So log of Ts is equal to log of C1 plus log of p to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, which can be represented in this way by taking out the power. And if you differentiate both sides, means if you take a derivative of both sides, you will get dTs by T. Okay, Ts and T. So ultimately, this is just temperature. Okay, so the variable is temperature. So dTs by T is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma dP by P. Okay, so from these two relations, 1 and 2, I will keep this open here also and just slightly reduce this size. We need both these pages. Again, this difficulty is because we cannot show on the board. Okay, that is the problem. Side by side. So these are the two relations: dTs eta infinity C, which is the polytropic efficiency defined as dTs by dt, and relation 2 gives us dTs by T is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma dP by P, which is for the isentropic case. Okay, so replace dTs in this equation from this equation. So dTs is equal to eta infinity C into dt. So if you replace this, you get eta infinity C into dt by T equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma dP by P. Okay, integrating between these states 1 and 2, between this point 1 and between this point 2, you get eta infinity C ln T2 by T1 is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma ln P2 by P1. Okay, or you get an expression for this polytropic efficiency, eta infinity C is equal to ln P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma inside this log. Okay, to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma divided by ln T2 by T1. This is another way of representing the polytropic efficiency. We have seen one way of representing the polytropic efficiency, this one. Okay, this is by definition. This on the right hand side that you are seeing. On the left hand side, what you are seeing, this we have derived. What is the importance of this form? The importance of this form is that if you do an actual experiment for a compressor, okay, how will you know the polytropic efficiency of the compressor? The small stage, you cannot measure the efficiency of an infinitesimal stage, right? You cannot measure the efficiency of an infinitesimal stage. You can measure the overall isentropic efficiency of the compressor, but that overall isentropic efficiency is not same as the polytropic efficiency we have discussed already. Overall, we will get some overall isentropic efficiency, H2S minus H1 by H2 minus H. That will change if the pressure ratio changes. Okay, so it is not same as the polytropic efficiency. So to measure the polytropic efficiency experimentally, we can use this expression where P2 and P1 is the pressure at the inlet, and like P2 is the pressure at the exit and P1 is the pressure at the inlet of the compressor. Similarly, T2 and T1 are the exit temperature and inlet temperature of the compressor. Okay, so because we can measure these values experimentally, we can use this formula to find out what is the polytropic efficiency of a compressor, okay, or the small stage efficiency of the compressor. Later on, we will relate this efficiency to the isentropic efficiency also, but this is how you can actually calculate the polytropic efficiency for an actual compressor, okay, by using experimental means. Any questions? Now, one question is still remaining. Okay, means you might be curious. We have defined it infinite. Okay, so small stage efficiency has some meaning because it is for a very small stage. But why the name polytropic efficiency? Okay, what is the calling this as polytropic efficiency? So what we are doing is that we can assume, as we will see later, that the process from 1 to 2 is like a polytropic process. You remember what is a polytropic process? A polytropic process is a process where PV to the power n is constant. So isentropic process is just a special case of polytropic process where n is equal to gamma. Okay, so PV to the power gamma is constant is isentropic process, but PV to the power n is constant is a polytropic process where n can have any value. Okay, n can have any value. So if we can define the process in such a way, so that PV to the power n is constant, we can call that process as polytropic process. Okay. So is that, let us take a look at this, at our calculation again. Okay. This relation eta infinity c dt by t is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma dp by p. Okay. From this we can obtain the same relation. Basically we can write in a different form. T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power. Okay, this is the same relation. Just remove the log and put it in this form. T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity c. So if I replace this gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity c by n minus 1 by, like a polytropic process, right, where PV to the power n is constant. For a polytropic process, PV to the power n is constant. The relation between temperature and pressure is T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power n minus 1 by n. Okay. So instead of gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity c, we will replace this by n minus 1 by n. Okay. Where what is the value of n? The value of n can be obtained by equating this n minus 1 by n to this term. Okay, gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity c. Okay, so this is like a polytropic process where we know what is the given exponent. It can be calculated if you know what is eta infinity c, and what is gamma is all obviously known. Okay, so as a result, we call this as a polytropic process and the efficiency as the polytropic efficiency. Okay, the small scale efficiency as the polytropic efficiency. So we can just write this as gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity c is equal to n minus 1 by n, or eta infinity c is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma, just by rearranging the terms. This is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma into n by n minus 1, where n is the polytropic exponent. Okay, so if we assume that this process is a polytropic process, PV to the power n is constant, you can find the value of n by using this relation. From this relation, you can find the value of n. You have to know the polytropic efficiency and gamma. Polytropic efficiency you can calculate using this expression. Gamma is all known quantity. Okay, specific ratio of the specific heat. So polytropic exponent is known. Obviously, the polytropic exponent is a function of the efficiency. So if the efficiency changes, polytropic exponent also changes. So this eta infinity c, remember, is still equal to dTs by dt by definition. Okay, whatever is expressions we find, ultimately is still equal to dTs by dt for any dTs by dt for any location between 1 and 2. Any pressure ratio, means not any pressure ratio, any, and for any pressure for infinitesimal pressure ratio, whether we take this at 0.1 or 2 or anywhere else. Okay, this is by definition. So one thing we have demonstrated, or we have derived, is how to find the polytropic efficiency in terms of known quantity. Second thing we have derived is how to find polytropic efficiency in terms of polytropic exponent, or the opposite way, how to find polytropic exponent in terms of polytropic efficiency. The third thing that we want to connect is the compressor efficiency, compressor isentropic efficiency, overall isentropic efficiency of the compressor with the polytropic efficiency. Okay. Overall isentropic efficiency is easy to measure, right? If you know what is the temperature at the outlet and inlet and the pressure at the outlet, how will you measure the overall isentropic efficiency? Can anyone say, for an experiment, how will you measure the overall isentropic efficiency? For this compression process?
Maximum temperature minimum temperature difference by maximum.
What do you mean by minimum by maximum? What is minimum and maximum temperature difference?
No, sir. For this, 1 to 2s is minimum than 1 to 2.
That is not minimum. That is ideal temperature difference.
Yes, sir.
And 1 to 2 is real temperature difference. Nothing maximum minimum. Okay, maximum minimum wrong.
Yes,
but
sir, ideal and
how will you
real.
measure these values? How will you measure these is the inlet temperature of the compressor. You can easily measure. 0.2 is the outlet temperature of the compressor. If you put a thermocouple at the outlet of the compressor, you can measure temperature at 0.2. But how will you measure point T2S? Temperature T2S. T1 and T2 you can measure. Yes, but your actual process is not. It is isentropic process that we know. But your actual your experimental setup undergoes actual process, right? Experimental setup does not undergo isentropic process. You cannot make it undergo isentropic process. It's a real setup. It can only undergo actual process. So if you put two thermocouples at the inlet and exit, you will have temperature T1 and T2.
TS will
How will
find
you
from formula, sir.
from?
Formula, sir, which you know for that isentropic process, sir.
So which formula?
Sir,
T2S by T1 sir is equal to P2 by P1 gamma minus 1 by gamma.
Yes.
1 by gamma, yes, sir.
You can measure the pressures, right? P1 and P2 also you have to measure. Only by measuring the temperature is not possible. So you also have to measure the pressure P1 and P2 and then use the formula. Okay. So pressure
Yes,
measurement is important. That is the point that I was looking for. Okay, because many students get confused. You cannot measure T2S. You have to measure the pressure and calculate T2S. And you can easily then calculate the isentropic efficiency from the relation given here, T2S minus T1 by T2 minus T1. Okay, this is the overall isentropic efficiency of the compressor. So this we want to relate to the polytropic efficiency. Again, this is just algebraic calculation. Okay, so I will just quickly go through this step. You divide like
Sir, on the PDF that is on the right,
yes.
why like I didn't understand that step. It should be dTs by Ts, right? In equation 2.
dTs by Ts. So Ts is like there is no variable called Ts. All the temperature variation is temperature variation is means whatever change is occurring. So it is. Let me. It's a good question actually. What you have asked. How could we could open it right last time like we had done using your suggestion. Edge. Okay. So there is no variable called Ts. So although I am showing this dt as this line, actually what is dt? dt is also a vertical line corresponding to this distance. Okay. And dts is the vertical line corresponding to this distance. Like so the variable is always like the differential along this t direction is only dt. Okay. It is just to denote that the process is going in this direction. We are using as dTs. Okay, but the variable is always T, temperature in this direction. There is no separate variable called Ts. Okay, there is no separate variable called Ts. So for one case, the change is dTs along the T direction. For the other process, the change is dt along the T direction. Both the changes occur along the T direction. Means the independent variable is T, temperature T. The changes are different. It is dTs and dt. But the variable is T itself. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir. I understood.
Yes. So it's the independent variable. Like for example, you understand, right? So if you have x and y, okay. So now for x, there can be defined variations in the x direction. So fx1, fx2, something like, or f1x, f2x, different functions. But ultimately the variable will be, so the distances traveled is different along different functions, but the variable itself is the x variable. Anyway, let us come to this. It's a good question. Okay. So just do some algebraic alteration. You take T1 common from the numerator and the denominator. So T2s by T1 minus 1 by T2 by T1 minus 1. So T2s by T1 is P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, which we can also write as RC. compressor pressure ratio. Okay, P2 by P1 is compressor pressure ratio. And T2 by T1 we have already calculated. Here T2 by T1 is also RC, but RC to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity C. Okay, so replace this. So you get a relation between the isentropic efficiency and the polytropic efficiency. Okay, it also has the term pressure ratio. Now you understand that for a constant pressure ratio, if we plot the isentropic efficiency for different pressure ratio, the isentropic efficiency will change. And I will show you how it will change. Okay, it will decrease. We will discuss this. So it will actually decrease with increasing value of R. For a given polytropic efficiency, it will decrease with increasing value of R for the compressor. We'll come to this. Here intuitively we cannot understand, but if you plot it, you will know that it varies. Intuitively, we understand that it varies with RC, pressure ratio, the isentropic efficiency. Okay. The final point we want to note is what is the temperature rise across the compressor. Again, these are just for the sake of correlations we are showing. In the actual calculation, you can always go step by step. Okay. So actual temperature rise across the compressor is important because it gives us the measure of work input. So this is T2 minus T1, which is T1 into T2 by T1 minus 1. So you just replace that by RC to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma eta infinity C minus 1. So this is the pressure ratio, and it has again the polytropic efficiency in its term. Okay. So few correlations we have seen for the polytropic efficiency. One is how it is related to real actual properties at the inlet and outlet. Second is how it is related to polytropic exponent. Third is how it is related to the overall compressor isentropic efficiency. And fourth, it is how we can calculate the temperature rise or work input to the. So Cp into this T2 minus T1 is the work input to the compressor. So you can just multiply Cp and you get the work input to the compressor in terms of polytropic efficiency. So whatever discussion we have done here is also valid if you use T01 and T02 instead of T1 and T2. And in the problems that we are going to tackle later on, and what I have given in the assignment, let me just check once the assignment problem. I think we have used T01. I have used T01 by T02. It means everywhere it is T01 and T02. Okay. Yes. So we will do now, from now onwards, you should do all the calculation unless otherwise mentioned in terms of stagnation properties, unless it is mentioned otherwise. Okay. So because that automatically takes into account if there is any change in kinetic energy. So like this we have done here. You can go through this later on. So same thing, whatever we have discussed for compressor, like definition of polytropic efficiency plus these 4 steps, means how it is related to polytropic exponent, how it is related to isentropic efficiency of the turbine, how it is related to work output from the turbine, and things like that, how it is related to inlet and outlet temperature and pressure. All these things can be again calculated and defined for turbines also. Okay. So the same things we will quickly go through again. Any questions up to this point? Otherwise, let us proceed for the turbine. So for the turbine also, polytropic efficiency is defined in a similar way. It is the efficiency of an infinitesimal stage. It is the isentropic efficiency of an infinitesimal stage or a very small stage, but it is defined in the opposite way. Means now it is dt by dts instead of dts by dt. If you see the expression for compressor, it was dts by dt. Now it is dt by dts because the work output from the turbine is less from the ideal work output. Okay, or the temperature change from the turbine actual process is less compared to ideal temperature change. So that's why efficiency value has to be less than 1. So it is defined in this way. So eta infinity t is equal to dt by dts. Again, this is constant over the entire process, whether you take this small dp. So I have shown here as a dp, small dp near P3 or near P4, wherever you take, by definition, this efficiency is constant. Okay. In the previous class, we have discussed why this efficiency is constant. What is the significance of this efficiency? I will just repeat again. Okay. The significance is that when you manufacture a turbine on compressor, okay, depending on the manufacturing process and tolerances, the surface finish quality depends on those, like the surface finish of the blade. So accordingly, the friction and losses also depend on this. Where if you manufacture a blade in Germany with a very high precision, as less expensive blade you manufacture in China with a low tolerance, the friction will be much less for the German manufactured blade. As a result, its efficiency, because the friction is less, its polytropic efficiency will be much more as compared to the polytropic efficiency of the blade manufactured in China. So polytropic efficiency gives a measure. So it is constant for all the like for a particular manufacturing process, for all the blades it will be constant. Okay, whatever is the pressure ratio, even if the pressure ratio changes, because it is just for a small section of the blade, whatever is the, it depends on the frictional losses of a small section of the blade. So the way it is defined, it is constant, it depends on the manufacturing process. But now if you have more number of stages, or there is more curvature of the blade, so that more pressure ratio across a single blade, across a single stage, then the overall efficiency will change, overall loss will change. But for an infinite small section, the polytropic efficiency still remains constant and is only dependent on the manufacturing process. Okay, and over the years from 1950 to 2020, over the last 70 years of gas turbine operation, polytropic efficiency has significantly improved because of improved manufacturing processes. Efficiency also has improved for the same pressure ratio, but polytropic efficiency has significantly improved, okay, because of improved manufacturing processes. So you should remember the practical aspect also, or way in our, and our treatment of the entire course is mathematical, but sometimes we should not forget the practical aspects, okay, because ultimately you should be able to intuitively relate the things to practical aspects. But the course we deal with more in a more mathematical way, instead of just going through the description, which you can anyway read from the book. Okay, so our course is structured in a mathematical way. or you can say in a way so that we can design real cycles, as we will see later. Maybe not before the midterm, after the midterm, I will show you some MATLAB programs on how to actually design for real cycles and give you some assignments, programming assignments for that. Okay. I have received the programming assignments from most of you, but a few students have not submitted. Okay. So next time you should submit, everyone, because marks are there for these assignments. I will just take a look, go through them quickly, and I will give marks for the assignments. Okay. So you should always submit the assignments if you want to get a good grade. The assignment means the programming assignments, not the problem sets that I am giving. Those are just for your practice. Let us come back to the polytropic efficiency of the turbine. Eta infinity T is equal to dt by dTs by definition. Now do the same calculation. Just take the same expression dTs by T, that is valid for any isentropic process. Okay, so for this isentropic process 3 to 4s also this is valid. dTs by T is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma dP by P. Okay, we have previously established. So now replace this dTs from this expression. dTs is equal to dt by eta infinity T. Okay, so you replace this and you will get 1 by eta infinity T, dt by T is equal to gamma minus 1 by gamma dP by P. I have done some step jumps, so you can just integrate this going from 3 to 4, and you will get eta infinity T is equal to log of T3 by T4 divided by log of P3 by P4 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Exactly same way, because it is exactly the same thing. I have just done 1 or 2 step jumps. Okay. So again, the significance is same. You can calculate, you can not calculate, you can, yes, you can calculate the polytropic efficiency of the turbine from the known values at the inlet and outlet of the turbine. So by measuring the temperature and pressure at the inlet and the outlet of the turbine, you can calculate the polytropic efficiency in terms of this expression. Okay, directly you cannot calculate, because you cannot calculate dt by dTs. So you have to use this expression to calculate the polytropic efficiency. okay, in a practical sense. So what was the next thing we have done for the compressor? We had seen the relation between eta infinity T and the polytropic exponent. So this also can be approximated as a polytropic process. That's why we are calling this as polytropic efficiency, right? So this also can be approximated as a polytropic process. Again, you take the same expression, this expression here, and using this we can write T3 by T4, just a different way of expressing the same thing. T3 by T4 is equal to P3 by P4 to the power eta infinity T gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, just you are expressing the same thing by removing the logarithm. So instead of eta infinity into gamma minus 1 by gamma, I can use n minus 1 by n, where n is a polytropic exponent. Okay, so we can think of this process again as a polytropic process, PV to the power n as a constant. Hence, T3 by T4 is P3 by P4 to the power n minus 1 by n. And how this polytropic exponent is related to the polytropic efficiency? This is related in this way. Eta infinity T gamma minus 1 by gamma is equal to n minus n1 by n. Okay. Or you can write in a different way, eta infinity T is equal to n minus 1 by n into gamma minus 1 by gamma minus 1. Okay. So if you know eta infinity T, you can find out the polytropic exponent. This polytropic exponent n is different from the polytropic exponent n for the compressor. This has a different value. It is not same. Okay, this value is different from the compressor. Although we are expressing it as n, both these n's are different. Okay, and the expressions are also different, as you can see here. Here the expression is somewhat opposite to the expression. Okay, here it is n minus 1 by n into gamma by gamma minus 1. Here n by n minus 1 into gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay, so this exponent is different, but this is how you can relate. So again, how you will find the polytropic exponent n? First, you have to measure the temperature and pressure at the turbine inlet. Then you have to calculate the polytropic efficiency. Then you will have to use this relation to find out the polytropic exponent n. Okay. This n is different from that used for the compressor. So this was the second part. Then what was the third part we did for the compressor? We calculated or we derived a relation between the isentropic efficiency of the compressor and the polytropic efficiency. Okay. Remember that isentropic efficiency varies with pressure ratio, but the polytropic efficiency does not vary. So same thing we are again going to do for the turbine. Okay. Again, if I ask the same question, how will you calculate the isentropic? How will you measure the isentropic efficiency of the turbine? The answer is that you can always measure the actual temperature at the inlet and the outlet by putting through thermocouples. So you will get T3 and T4. Now you also have to measure the pressure values at the inlet and outlet, P3 and P4. Okay. So from P3 and P4, you have to use the isentropic relation that T3 by T4s is equal to P3 by P4 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So you can calculate T4s. So by knowing this temperature value, you can find out the isentropic efficiency of the overall turbine expansion, which is T3 minus T4 by T3 minus T4s. This you already know. We have already discussed. So we can write this again just by taking out or dividing the numerator and denominator by T3. You can write this as 1 minus T4 by T3 divided by 1 minus T4s by T3. I am going little quickly because this is analogous to the compressor. If you have any confusion or difficulty, please let me know. Okay. So replace T4 by T3 by the polytropic process, which we have already derived here. T4 by T3. So T4 by T3 is P4 by P3 to the power eta infinity T gamma minus 1 by gamma. So I can write this as 1 by RT. RT is the compressor pressure ratio, P3 by P4. Okay. 1 by P3 by P4 to the power eta infinity T gamma minus 1 by gamma divided by 1 minus, for the isentropic process, this is the pressure ratio to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay. So we have a relation between the isentropic efficiency and the polytropic efficiency. This also is a function of the pressure ratio across the turbine. So for an ideal cycle, the pressure ratio across the turbine and compressors are same. But for a real cycle, as we will study later today itself, we will see that the pressure ratio across the turbine may be less than the pressure ratio across the compressor because of pressure losses in the combustion chamber. Okay, so RT will be different from RC. So the final point that we have studied was that what is the work input to the compressor. Similarly, here we want to find out what is the work output from the turbine, which is equal to Cp into delta T. So delta T we can calculate directly in terms of the polytropic efficiency as T3 minus T4 equal to, if you take T3 common, it is 1 minus T4 by T3 or 1 minus 1 by pressure ratio P3 by P4 to the power n minus 1 by n, which you can replace by the derived relation. N minus 1 by n is eta infinity T gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay. So whether it is given to you, whether the polytropic exponent may be given to you in a problem, or I can give you the polytropic efficiency, or I can give you the isentropic efficiency. So you should be able to calculate all the other factors. Okay. So again, for this case also, entire discussion is valid for T03 and T04, the stagnation properties, instead of T3 and T4, the static properties. So I can write T03 minus T04 equal to T03 1 minus T04 by T03, and I can write in terms of pressure ratio, which will be P03 by P04. Okay. Same thing is valid where if you replace all the formula by stagnation properties instead of static properties. Okay. Any questions up to this point? This is an important concept, although we don't use it much. At least in the courses, you will see that most of the problems given in the book, or even say when I give, many of the problems give isentropic efficiency or in the thermodynamic book. But in real life scenario, polytropic efficiency has more practical meaning. But in the exam, to make the problem simpler, we generally give isentropic efficiency, because the calculation using isentropic efficiency is much easier. If you know the isentropic efficiency, you can directly calculate in 2-3 steps the work input. For polytropic efficiency, you have to do more steps. Okay. So if you plot these two curves, one this eta t for a given value of polytropic efficiency, and eta c for a given value of polytropic efficiency, same value of polytropic efficiency for turbine and compressor, because it will depend on the finishing process, right? For both the cases, you will see that for the compressor with increasing pressure ratio, the actual isentropic efficiency, overall isentropic efficiency decreases, and for the turbine it increases. Okay. So these are some hypothetical values, some reference values. This does not mean that it is always these values. So typically the turbine efficiency is higher as compared to compressor efficiency. It can go up to 90%. Okay. And the compressor efficiency typically is somewhat lower. Okay. The final point to note here is that whether we use isentropic efficiency or polytropic efficiency, these are the same information. This gives us the same information, but in different ways, in different forms. If you know one, you can calculate the other. Okay. These are just two ways of defining the inefficiency or irreversibility that is occurring. Two ways of denoting the irreversibility that is occurring in a compression or a turbine process. Ultimately, you can just give one of the, like either the isentropic efficiency or the polytropic efficiency, and the other can be calculated. Okay. These are just some different types of representation of the inefficiency that occurs in a process. Okay. Due to frictional losses in the turbine or the compressor. We will take a break here. If you have any questions, you can ask me questions at this point. After the break, we will go to the next point. Okay. I will keep it open on the right hand side. So we have seen only 2 points, but the most important point we have covered in details. Okay. So first we have seen the kinetic energy effect. Second, we have covered the effect of irreversibility, which we have covered in last two classes. Okay, by using isentropic efficiency and polytropic efficiency. All the other points are relatively minor points as compared to the losses due to like the main contribution to the overall losses comes from the compressor and turbine, but the other losses are also important. They cannot be ignored, but their relative contribution is slightly lower. Okay, so after the break, we will see the effect of all the other losses step by step. Okay, so let me take a 5 minutes break and continue after this. If you have any questions, you think about the question. You can download also the assignment problem later on from the MS Teams. Okay, and I have uploaded today's note also. It is also there in the file section. If you go to the file section for your case, you should be able to see the notes. Okay, this is I think this is. Oh, is it? No, where is today's notes? I have not uploaded. I thought I have uploaded it. Now I am uploading it. Okay. So assignments that I have uploaded. So all the notes are there in MS Teams. You should be prepared for the exams by reading these notes. Extra things you can read from the books. Notes itself are sufficient if you have the fundamental understanding. Then slides are also there for the introductory classes. You should go take a look at them also. Go through the single problem set. For the next half of, we have covered a very little portion. In the next half of the course, after midterm, I will give you 5 more problem sets. Okay, because we will cover so many things after midterm. So we have left with the entire main most important or more interesting thing, which is the jet propulsion. Then the individual components, compressors, turbines, combustion chamber. So all of these things are left. So we will see whether we can complete this. We should have a lot of classes because somehow this midterm is too forward this time. So very less classes we have got. Generally we get 2 months, but this time only I got 5 weeks. Okay. So we'll cover this. Okay. So let me take a 5 minute. So I am back. Hopefully you can still hear me. Somebody please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. My health is not so good today. Let us continue this discussion. Okay. So today we will try to go through the other minor effects. And all the minor differences, and in tomorrow's class we will try to solve one or two problems related to this on designing real or on design calculations of real cycles. Means ideal cycles is very easy, you have already done. Real cycles is also not difficult, but how to incorporate these changes in a real cycle, means say if these pressure losses are given, some other things are given, how to take this into account. This type of problems we will solve tomorrow in tomorrow's class, and similar type of problems is also there in the assignment set. Again, I will say that for this type of problems, for real cycles, please follow the process that I am following in the class tomorrow, that I am going to follow, or I have given in the assignment sheet, or what is given in El Sayed Ahmed solved problem. Don't follow the process given in Ganeshan, which is much more simplistic, taking lot of assumptions and as a result not accurate. Okay, so they don't take the fuel air ratio accurately and all the other things accurately. Those calculations are okay, approximate calculations, but we can do in a more accurate way. So we will, because we can do it in a more accurate way, we should do it in a more accurate way. So we will follow that process, like whatever I follow in the class, not the Ganeshan way. Ideal cycles, you can follow Ganeshan's problems or single bolts. Okay, for the ideal cycles. So the third important effect was, so first two we have considered. I hope you can still see the screen. Please confirm one final time, so that I can start the discussion.
Yes, sir.
You can both the sheets you can see, right? Left and right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So the third point is pressure losses due to friction. Okay. So frictional losses we have already considered. Excuse me. Just a second. Pressure losses we have already considered in not pressure losses, sorry, frictional losses we have already considered for the compressor and turbine, which results in deviation from the isentropic process. But there are other pressure losses in the other components also. Okay, other frictional losses. So what are the pressure losses? Pressure losses can occur so combustion chamber is definitely going to be there, whatever is the cycle. So there will be some pressure loss in the combustion chamber. Okay, there will be some pressure loss in the combustion chamber. Oh, it is all automatically got cut. I thought that while scanning itself it got cut. So then there are pressure losses in all the heat exchangers. What are the different heat exchangers? The regenerator is a type of heat exchanger, and in the regenerator there are two paths, right? One is that on one side the flow occurs from 2 to 5. I will come to this diagram later on, but on one side you are heating the exhaust gases from you are heating the gas exhaust air from the compressor, and on the other side this heating is being done by heat exchange from the exhaust gases from the turbine, which is at a high temperature. Okay, so on both sides of this counterflow heat exchanger there will be pressure losses. Then pressure losses will also occur in the intercooler, which is also a heat exchanger. Okay, so pressure loss will also occur in the intercooler, and pressure loss will also occur in the reheater, which is also a combustion chamber. So there will be pressure loss in that secondary combustion chamber also. Why does pressure loss occur in the combustion chamber? Because you have to design the combustion chamber in such a way that there is some turbulence induced in the combustion chamber, so as there is you can hold the flame so that the flame does not blow out. This we will study towards the later half of the course, but you can understand that there needs to be some compromise, because if you want the flow to go very smoothly at very high velocity, pressure loss will be reduced, but your combustion will means the combustion process cannot be sustained. So there will be always some pressure loss in the combustion chamber. Okay. So this is what I have written here. So we can consider the pressure loss in the combustion chamber by delta PC, just some term delta PC, and on both sides of the regenerator. On one side we can call it as delta P region A, on the other side as delta P region B. It has got cut here while scanning. Okay, it is delta P region B. So now how the actual cycle will look like if I consider a regeneration cycle without reheating and intercooling. I have not drawn the reheating and intercooling, complicated, but you can easily understand how the pressure pressure changes due to reheating and intercooling will look like. So instead of going from 01 to 02s, we go from 01 to 02 for the actual process. This we have already accounted for using isentropic efficiency or polytropic efficiency. So now instead of following this constant pressure line P02, there will be a small drop in pressure in the regenerator. Okay. So instead of the pressure being P02 at the outlet of the regenerator, the pressure will drop to a slightly lower pressure P05. Okay. So the outlet point is at a pressure P05 corresponding to some temperature T05. Okay. So the process will go from P02 to P05 like this red line that I am showing here. And the constant pressure line P05 is shown by a pink line. It is not easy to understand here, but it is a line parallel to, not exactly parallel, but somewhat parallel to P02 line. Okay. So the actual process is going from 02 to 05. So the difference between these two lines, constant pressure lines, is delta P region A. Okay. The pressure loss in the regenerator. In one side, in the air side. So regenerator has two sides, air side and gas side. So this is the pressure loss in the air side. Okay. Now what is the inlet condition to the combustion chamber? Instead of pressure equal to P02, inlet pressure is now equal to P05. Now in the combustion chamber, more pressure loss occurs. So instead of the pressure being equal to P05 at the outlet of the combustion chamber, slight more pressure loss occurs. Okay. So now the pressure drops to a new pressure P03. So this P03 constant pressure line is shown by the blue line here. Okay. It is slightly lower and parallel to the P05 line. Okay. And much more lower as compared to P02 line. Okay. So the difference between this P05 line and P03 line is given by delta PC, or the pressure loss in the combustion chamber. So what is the difference between P02 and P03? It is the summation of delta P region A plus delta PC. Okay. If there is no regenerator, the difference between P02 and P03 will be only the combustion chamber pressure loss delta PC. Okay. So now the process actually goes from P05 line to P03 line, from 05 to 03. It does not follow a constant pressure line. The pressure actually slightly decreases. Similar to the regenerator, where also it does not follow the constant pressure line. The pressure actually decreases between two constant pressure lines. So we have reached the P03. What will be the temperature T03? It is still the temperature of the turbine inlet given by the turbine inlet conditions. Okay. So the maximum temperature is still same. Only point is that instead of going to a point 03 along the constant pressure line P02, you go through a 03, which is deviated to the right hand side because of the pressure loss. Okay, the height of this point is still same, means temperature T03 is still same, but the P03 is lower than P02. So now from P03 to 03 to 04 is the isentropic process, non-isentropic process, actual process in the turbine that we have already known. We have already seen how to take care by using the isentropic efficiency or polytropic efficiency. Okay, 03 to 04 you can calculate. I have shown in a very exaggerated way. Actually, the deviation will be much less, but my diagram shows it that it is very deviating very much to the right hand side. But in real life, it will not deviate so much. Okay. Then there is again, so what is the outlet pressure? Outlet pressure is the ambient pressure, P01, right? So outlet pressure is always constant, it is the ambient pressure. So the outlet pressure from the regenerator in this case should be equal to P01. And we define the outlet pressure as P06, so P06 should be equal to P01. But the inlet pressure in the regenerator cannot be P06 because there has to be some pressure loss in the regenerator, in the gas side also. Okay, because it is going through lot of tubes and pipes. Okay, so that pressure loss is given by delta P region B. Okay, so the inlet pressure to the regenerator is P04, which is higher than P06. So how will you find P04? It is P06 plus delta P region B. Okay, so P06 is equal to P01. So if you know what is P01 ambient condition, you can find what is P04. And then you can find out what is the turbine exit pressure. It's the opposite way around. Okay, so if somebody asks you what is the turbine outlet pressure, you cannot directly find. You have to first find what is the inlet condition. From that, what is the outlet condition of the regenerator. Based on this, you know what is the regenerator pressure loss. You find out what is the turbine outlet pressure. Okay, if there is no
You are not audible, sir.
for a second. Okay, am I audible now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I am getting a call. So that's why my internet connection is breaking off because the call is coming in another SIM. So I will take the call and then I will come back to you. Okay, in a couple of minutes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Is my voice breaking off?
Yes, sir. Not that clear.
So problematic. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, you're
Hello.
audible.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you're
sir, we
audible.
can hear you.
Okay. Uh, so what is happening is that faculty quarter internet is very poor. I can use my personal internet, but that breaks off if some call comes, even some missed call or SMS comes, because that is another SIM it's coming from. Anyway, let us continue. We have lost a lot of time. So we were discussing about the pressure losses. So any other pressure loss also you can take into account. So what will be, how it is done is that the pressure losses at each point is given as some delta pressure, means that say there is a pressure loss of 5 kilopascal, something like this is given. Okay. So if you know what is the pressure loss delta P region A, and if you know what is the exit compressor pressure, okay, I will open this now. If you know what is the exit compressor pressure, then from this pressure losses you can find out what is the turbine inlet pressure P03, because P02 minus delta P region A minus combustion pressure loss will give you turbine inlet pressure. Turbine inlet pressure is an important term because This is needed for the calculation. Similarly, other terms also, turbine exit pressure also you can calculate if there is a regenerator. Okay. So same way you can take into account any other pressure loss. So in most cases it is generally given, the pressure loss is generally given as proportion of the inlet pressure to the device. Okay, for example, generally the pressure loss in the combustion chamber, or yes, tell me.
Seems like you are not sharing the PDF.
Oh, okay. I was sharing, but why it was not visible? Again, I am sharing back. Can you see it now? Or is there
Yes, sir.
a lot of lag? Maybe there is a lot of lag. I am showing a equation of pressure. Okay, if you can see on the left hand side, on the right hand side, I still have that diagram, TS diagram of the cycle with the pressure losses. Okay. So in case you get confused. Okay. So typically what happens is that this pressure loss is given as some percentage of the inlet pressure. So for example, pressure loss in the combustion chamber is given as say 3% of the compressor outlet pressure. Okay, in that case it means that delta PC is equal to 0.03 of P02. Delta PC is equal to 0.03 of P02. Okay. So in that case again you can just easily calculate. So P03 is equal to P02 if you take common 1 minus delta PC by P02 minus delta P regen A by P02. So this ratio is generally given, and this pressure loss is typically 2 to 3% for industrial turbines, as the combustion chambers do not encounter high velocity. For aerospace application, this may be slightly higher, 4 to 8% or 6 to 8%, depending on the design, because you encounter higher velocities in the combustion chamber. Okay. Similarly, for regenerator also it may be slightly like 4 to 5%. Okay, not much of the combustion outlet pressure. Okay, like this is sometimes defined. So again, if it is given to you what is the pressure loss, you can easily calculate the pressure at each of the points. Okay, based on the pressure losses. And once you solve a problem, you will get the idea how to do this. Okay, and in an actual design, these pressure losses have to be calculated from other things like what is the flow rate, or using some empirical relations. What is typical pressure loss in the regenerator for a certain mass flow rate or velocity? Okay, so using those rules, you calculate what is the pressure loss, and then you input that in the cycle calculation. What is the main effect of the pressure loss? Main effect is that the pressure ratio across the turbine decreases. Okay, because of the pressure loss, P03 is lower than P0, what would have been the case if there was no pressure loss, and P04 also can be higher than what would have been the case if there was no regenerator pressure loss. Okay, so the pressure ratio across the turbine decreases and the net work output across the turbine decreases. As a result, the overall net work output decreases and the overall efficiency also decreases. So pressure ratio has a moderate amount of effect on the net work output and efficiency. Okay, less effect than the compressor or turbine inefficiency, but still lot of effect is there. Okay, maybe 3 to 4% effect is there on the cycle efficiency. So cumulative effect is that after all these losses, you will see that instead of seeing the ideal gas efficiency, ideal cycle efficiency of 60-70% that we have seen using MATLAB, in real life you will get a modest efficiency of 30-35%. Okay, not 60-70% after you add up all the losses. So this is the third point. Then the fourth point is any questions on this pressure loss? No questions. Okay, very easy to understand. Maybe slight confusion may be there, but once we solve a problem tomorrow, it will be very clear how to take this into account. All these points we will take into account, okay, in the problems. Then the next point is what has happened here again? It has got cut or that in the regenerator complete heat exchange is not possible. Regenerator is also called as heat exchanger. Okay, and complete heat exchange is not possible in the regenerator. Okay, this we have already tackled previously by using a term called regenerator effectiveness. Okay, so what happens in the regenerator is that it is difficult to see from here. Ideally, we should have gone from 02 to the temperature T04 equal to T04. But actually we cannot reach that temperature, okay, because of losses. We reach a temperature which is below T04. So if we want to reach the T04 temperature, means the turbine outlet temperature, exhaust gas temperature, we need a surface area which is infinite, okay, or an infinite time of heat exchange, which is not possible. So we had defined the regenerator effectiveness as the actual temperature rise T05 minus T02 by the ideal temperature rise T04 minus T02. This is there in your old notes. If you go back to a few classes, I think it will be there somewhere. Yes, here. Okay. Regenerator effectiveness T5 minus T2 by T5 minus T5 dash minus T2, which is T5 minus T2 by T4 minus T2. Okay. So this is the same thing. So we define the regenerator effectiveness like this. Okay, in this case also same thing, but instead of static properties, I am writing in terms of stagnation property. T05 minus T02 divided by T04 minus T02. So if you know what is the regenerator effectiveness, typically it is about 90%. You can easily calculate T05 because T04 will be known to you. T04 will be known to you based on the turbine calculation. Once you calculate what is T04, you can calculate what is T05 by using the regenerator effectiveness. Okay. And in the regenerator, the energy balance gives you mass flow rate in the turbine side, means mass flow rate m dot T for the gas side in the regenerator. This is delta P regen B, okay, or delta P regen G, whatever you denote, gas side. So m dot T into Cp of gas, okay, Cp will be different as we will see later, into T04 minus T06, the temperature change in the gas side. This is equal to the mass flow rate in the air side, m dot C, compressor mass flow rate or mass flow rate in the air side into Cpa in the air side into T05 minus T02, delta T in the air side. Okay, this is the energy balance. If you assume that Cp is constant and mass flow rate is constant, if you ignore the fuel flow effect and Cp variation, you get T04 minus T06 equal to T05 minus T02. Okay. So once you can calculate T05 from this expression given below, T02 and T04 are already known. So once you calculate T05 using this energy balance, you can also calculate what is T06. What is the exhaust, final exhaust temperature T06, you can calculate from this energy balance. Okay. So couple of points to note here. To increase the value of regenerator effectiveness, you need larger surface area. But larger surface area means that there will be more pressure drop. Okay, so there is a compromise here. If you want to increase the surface area significantly, you will get higher regenerator effectiveness, but the pressure drop will increase, and as a result, again the efficiency of the cycle will reduce. Okay, so there is a optimum value. Okay, there is a compromise here that has to be made. So this is the fourth point. This is how you have to take this into account. Any questions on this point? So let us go to the fifth point. Okay, variation of Cp and gamma due to composition and temperature. Okay, so this variation of Cp and gamma can be very complex. Okay, Cp varies as temperature, and typically what happens in gases does the Cp increase or decrease with temperature in gases?
Increases.
Increases. Why does this increase? Can anyone say from fundamental perspective? Although it's not important for our course, but does anyone know why it increases?
So Cp is a function of enthalpy.
No, from fundamentally what is happening, means physically what is happening, not in terms of maths. What does this Cp means? Means that
Heat required.
if you want to change the temperature to by delta T, what is the energy input? Okay,
Yes, sir.
at constant pressure. Okay, so at lower temperature, this anyway, this is I am digressing from this. This is part of thermodynamics. Okay, at lower temperature, so this energy input to the temperature, what does it mean? Basically, what is temperature? Temperature at the molecular level is the kinetic energy of the molecules, right? You have molecules of gases, and the kinetic energy of the molecules manifest in the macroscopic scale as temperature. Okay, so this kinetic energy, this energy of the molecules consists of different parts. There is translational energy, like it is traveling in a direction. There is rotational energy, it is also rotating, it has more degrees of freedom. And there is like it can also vibrate. So as you go about to higher and higher temperature, more and more modes of this energy gets involved. Means at lower temperature, this rotational energy is not very important, only the translational energy is important. As you go towards higher temperature, more of the modes of more degrees of freedom gets involved. Okay, as a result, you need more temperature, more energy for the same temperature rise, because you need more energy now for the same change in kinetic energy. So somewhat it is related like that. You get the idea. Anyway, let us not go into those details. You can read this in a statistical thermodynamics book. The main thing is that Cp changes with temperature. Okay, and because there is a large variation of temperature in the compressor and turbine process in the entire cycle, a constant value of Cp equal to the Cp of air, which we generally take for the ideal cycle, 1.005 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. That is not a very good approximation. Okay, it will give rise to lot of error. Cp is a very weak function of pressure. Okay, Cp is not a very strong function of pressure, so we generally ignore the effect of pressure. At only very high temperature, the effect of pressure may come into picture, but we generally it has a weak dependence of pressure. So we will not assume that it is a function of pressure. Okay. So this is one thing, that Cp is a function of temperature. We will not go into actual calculation how Cp is a function of temperature. You can go into thermodynamics books and look at tables. There are a lot of functions also. Like Cp can be given as a function, as a polynomial of temperature. Okay, or actual values of Cp's are tabulated for different temperature for each gas. Say for example, for air, how for different temperature the Cp value changes. These are tabulated. This can be obtained for more accurate calculation when you are doing the calculation, say for an actual design. But for our course, we will just take some values of Cp, as I will outline later in a minute. Okay. Then gamma is the ratio of the specific heat Cp by Cv, and gamma minus 1 by gamma, which is a very important factor which we always encounter, right? Because T2 minus T1 is P2 minus P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, can be written as 1 minus 1 by gamma, which is 1 minus Cv by Cp. Or directly also you can write that gamma minus 1 by gamma is R by Cp. Okay. R is the specific gas constant. So it is related to the universal gas constant by R bar divided by the molar mass of the gas. Okay. R is R bar is the universal gas constant, 8.314 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay. Divided by m Cp. Kilojoule per kg mole Kelvin or something, kilomole Kelvin, something like that. Okay, I forgot. So anyway, so what my point here is that if Cp changes, gamma also changes, and if M changes, then also gamma changes. So gamma is also a function of composition and temperature. Cp itself will change because Cp for defined gas will change. Cp for say air is different from Cp of say carbon dioxide. Okay, so Cp also is changes, and with composition as well as temperature, gamma also changes with composition and temperature. Okay, so in our course, in actual life, you have to take this from the most realistic calculation is to take this from a thermodynamic table. Okay, where these variations are given for different values of temperature. If you don't want to take them from a table, somewhat approximate calculation you can do based on polynomial expansion. So there are some polynomial relations for Cp values which you can use. But in our course, we are not going into those details. What we will do is just we will take two simple values of Cp. One is for the air side, which is for the compressor, which is at a low temperature. We will take the average Cp as 1.005 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, which is the Cp of air, and corresponding gamma of air we will take 1.4. And for the gas side, a cumulative effect of high temperature and change in composition, we will approximate it as Cp of gas as 1.148. Okay, this is like a empirical relation, 1.148 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, and gamma as 1.333. Once you calculate Cp, you can calculate gamma also. So these are the values. This you can memorize also, or will be given in the problem. Better to remember that for Cp of air, at least you should remember 1.005 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, and gamma is 1.4. Cp of gas is, for the turbine calculation, we have to use Cp of gas. Wherever there is gas instead of air or high temperature gases, we have to use Cp of gas and gamma of gas. Okay, 1.333. These are the two values we are going to use for our calculations in this course. One thing to note here is that the Cp and the gamma changes in opposite way. So with increasing temperature, so for the air side or gas side, Cp increases, but the gamma actually decreases. Okay, so somewhat they cancel their effect. Somewhat they cancel each other. Not exactly, but there is some of, like, because they vary in the opposite way, there is some cancellation of effect. Okay, so what happens is, because of increased Cp, work output should increase, but because of decrease in gamma, the temperature ratio actually is less for the same pressure ratio. So the delta T is less. Okay, so for more accurate calculation of cycle temperature, the other way is that if you want to exactly calculate the cycle temperature, you assume some value of temperature. For that value, you look up the table and find out the value of gamma. Okay, use that gamma to calculate a new value of temperature. Then based on the new value of temperature, you calculate the average temperature, find out new value of gamma. Like this, you calculate again and again in an iterative process. Okay, so for more accurate calculation, iterative process is needed. We will not do this in our course. Okay, but you should know this because this needs to be done for actual design. You have to write a computer program to iterate multiple times. Find again temperature, again gamma, again temperature, again gamma. Like this, you keep on doing until you converge to a particular solution. Okay, we will not do this in our course, so don't worry about this right now. Okay, so this is how we are going to take Cp and gamma variation into account. Okay, in our course, just by assuming for the compressor one value of Cp and gamma, and for the turbine another value of Cp and gamma. For the combustion chamber, where actually this change is occurring from the air to the gas, at the inlet we will assume that Cp is Cp of air. At the exit we will assume that Cp is Cp of gas. Okay, it's just an approximation. At the inlet we will assume that Cp is Cp of air, and at the exit we will assume that Cp is Cp of gas. Okay, for the combustion process. Gamma is not required in the combustion chamber because there is no calculation involving gamma. Cp value is required for heat calculation, energy balance calculation in the combustion chamber. Questions? Anything? So let us go on to the yes.
Why are we taking like that? Like, what is the difference between air and gas?
What is the difference between air and gas? In terms of our cycles, air means that it is actually the air. It is taken from the atmosphere, goes through the compressor and goes into the combustion chamber. It is the actual air that is taken from the atmosphere, depending on the ambient condition. Okay. This temperature of the air will change across the compression process. Pressure will also change. So ultimately the Cp that you are using is the average Cp, but the composition will not change. It is still the composition of the atmospheric air, like say 21% oxygen, 79% nitrogen, whatever is the composition of air. For the combustion, for this gas, for our cycle, gas denotes the combustion products. Now the combustion products, the composition may vary depending on the air fuel ratio. Okay, it is not a fixed composition. So it is a mixture of unburned oxygen and nitrogen which were already present in the air, unburned oxygen as well as combustion products such as CO2 and H2O. Okay, so it's a combination of oxygen, unburned oxygen, nitrogen which was present, H2O and CO2. Generally there is not much unburned hydrocarbon, okay, because of very lean mixture, almost all the fuel gets combusted. So you will not find much unburned fuel. Okay, maybe very small amount may be there due to some localized region, but it's a very small amount. Okay, so most of the fuel, almost 99% fuel gets combusted, unlike IC engines where the combustion efficiency is lower. Here the combustion efficiency is very high. So when we say Cp of gas, gas means here this combustion mixture of combustion products where the temperature again varies at different locations and pressure also varies at different location in the turbine or in the regenerator. Okay, but we are assuming a cumulative Cp as a constant average value and a cumulative gamma as a average value. Okay, is this clear to you? In terms of the cycle, I will just point this out one final time. From 01 to 02, you have to consider CPA. At 02 at the inlet, you have CPA. At 03, you have CPG. Okay. 02 to 03, you cannot tell what it's a mixture of CP and CPG, but we don't need the process anyway. From 03 onwards, any other processes, it is CPG, okay, and gamma G. If there is regenerator from 02 to 05, you have to consider CPA because it is the air side, okay, it is air. And from 05 onwards, the 05 will be at CPA, and from 05 onwards, there is change from CPA to CPG. On the regenerator gas side, you have to consider CPG from 04 to 06, okay. Once you solve the problem, this will be clear. So what we will do, we will solve the compressor process where we write T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. For the compressor, we will take this gamma. For the turbine, when we write T3 by T4 is equal to P3 by P4 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, we will take this gamma G instead of gamma A. And when we calculate the compressor work, Cp into T2 minus T1, that Cp we will take Cpa. And when we calculate the turbine work output, Cp into T3 minus T4, that turbine work output we will use this Cp, Cp gas into T03 minus T04. Okay, like this we will take. It will be clear once we solve the problem in the next class. Or you can take a look at the assignment problems that I have given, problem set. I think it is there. So then there are some other minor things. Okay, so most of the important things we have covered. What are the minor changes? One is the mechanical losses. Okay, mechanical losses are the losses due to friction in the bearing, as I have discussed in the in couple of classes back. There are friction in the bearing. Your rotors are mounted on discs, which have to rotate, which are mounted on the shaft. Okay, so the shaft actually is mounted on bearings. Okay, the shaft is a massive, single massive cylindrical object. What happened? Something very bright flash was there. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Suddenly there was a very bright flash outside. So there is frictional losses due to the bearings. Okay, a very small amount. Then there is windage loss. We have discussed what is windage loss. It is also a type of frictional loss. Windage loss is when the discs rotate, they have a frictional loss with the static air, surrounding static air in between the turbine disc and blade and the casing. Okay, so this loss is known as windage loss. So this loss is entire loss is of the order of less than 1%. Okay, 1%, and this we are calling as mechanical loss. Okay, what is 1%? Means 1% of the compressor work input. How do we take this into account? We defined another efficiency called transmission efficiency or mechanical efficiency, eta m. Transmission or mechanical efficiency, eta m. So ideally, what would have been the work input to the compressor? It would have been CPA or CP of 1 to 2 into T02 minus T01. But because of losses, you need more work input, because the work you are transmitting from the turbine, some of it is getting lost due to this friction. Okay, is my point clear? So you are transmitting some work from the turbine, a small amount, 1% of it is getting lost due to friction, and the work that is reaching from the turbine to the compressor through the shaft is slightly less. Okay, so the actual work input that you need to the compressor from the turbine is slightly greater, and that is defined as 1 by eta m into the ideal work input CP of A T02 minus T01. Okay, so WC here is the work that you are extracting from the turbine. Okay, the work you are extracting from the turbine for running the compressor is slightly higher than the work that is reaching the compressor, and that is given by this term 1 by eta m. Okay, eta m has a value around 99%. So 1 by eta m has a value around 1.01. Okay, so around 1% more work will be required to be transmitted from the turbine. There are other minor losses due to ancillary equipment, means extra equipments are there also, such as fuel pump. Okay, you have to inject the fuel. How will you inject the fuel? So there are small pumps that inject the fuel at high pressure. Then there are oil pumps. Oil means not the fuel, oil means this lubricant. Okay, so there are lubricant, you have to circulate the lubricant. Then how will you circulate the lubricant? There are pumps also for circulating the lubricants. These also take up some amount of, small amount of work output. Okay, either through auxiliary electricity that is generated from the turbine work output, net work output itself. But these are very small. Okay, we do not consider in this course. We are not going to consider. So this is one minor change that you have to consider, and we can consider easily by using a transmission or mechanical efficiency. Okay, you have to calculate the work input like this. So then there is another small change, which is the effect due to fuel addition, effect in the mass flow rate due to fuel addition. Why I am going to call it as a small change? Because the fuel addition, if you remember, we use a very lean mixture in the turbine, in the gas turbines. Okay, the fuel air ratio is of the order of 1:50, very far away from the stoichiometric ratio. Do you remember what is the reason for this? We have discussed this. Why do we use a very lean mixture in gas turbines as compared to IC engines? IC engines we use a near stoichiometric ratio, fuel air ratio. In gas turbines we use like instead of 1:15 we use 1:50 or 1:60. What is the reason? Can anyone say?
So that the flame doesn't blow out because of high velocity of.
Sorry, could not hear.
Sir, overall temperature of the combustion chamber is maintained.
Overall temperature of the combustion chamber is tangentially correct. It can be maintained by cooling also. The combustion process occurs near the boundary of the combustion chamber wall. We can keep the wall cooled by injecting air, as we will see later in when we study about combustion chamber later in the course. So this high temperature occurs in the central region where it does not come into contact with the combustion chamber wall. So that is not exactly the reason, but you are correct in some way. Reason is that you need less temperature. The temperature limited by the turbine inlet temperature, right? Turbine inlet, the first stage turbine blade is going to face the high temperature combustion product. So you have a limited temperature. If you use stoichiometric ratio, your temperature will go to 2200, 2300 degrees centigrade. Very high temperature. Okay. So by diluting the fuel air ratio, you reduce the overall temperature in the combustion process. The energy is still same. Energy depends on the amount of fuel that you are combusting. But if more air is present, you are just reducing the temperature, but the overall energy is same. Okay, mass flow rate is more, temperature is less. So this how will you take into account in our calculations? In our calculation, this you will take into account. So all the calculations are done in terms of unit mass flow rate of air. Okay, 1 kg of air. So if you know what is the mass flow rate of air, then the mass flow rate of gas can be calculated as m dot g is equal to 1 plus f into m dot a. Okay, if you do the calculations in terms of unit mass flow rate of air, you divide both sides by m dot a. So the mass flow rate in the compressor is 1 and the mass flow rate in the turbine is 1 plus f. Okay, so this additional mass flow rate occurs, or this mass gets added in the combustion chamber due to fuel injection. Okay, where f is the fuel air ratio defined as mass flow rate of fuel by mass flow rate of air. Is this clear? Very simple equation. So if you calculate per unit mass flow rate of air, so for the compressor work calculation, you have to take 1 kg of air as the mass flow rate. But for the turbine, instead of taking 1 kg of air, you have to take 1 plus f kg of air. So if the air fuel ratio is 50:1, what will be the value of f? It will be 0.02, right? 1 by 50. So your mass flow rate of air in that case will be 1.02, 1 plus 0.02, 1.02 per unit mass flow rate of air. So this is how you take this into account in the calculations. Again, this we will demonstrate in the same problem tomorrow. Some of the mass flow rate again gets reduced because some of the air you take out for cooling of the turbine blades. Okay, so although there is some increase in mass flow rate due to the fuel, again there is some decrease in mass flow rate because you take out some air, which does not take part in the expansion in the turbine. Okay, it is separately used for cooling of the turbine blades and turbine disc. So somewhat this is compensated, and as I already explained, very high air fuel ratios are used so that the maximum temperature is lower. You should remember, you don't have to memorize these things. You have to intuitively find out that, okay, this should be the case based on your understanding. Okay, that what can be the reason? Think about it. What can be the reason that maximum air is so high? Okay, what happens when air is high? If air is high, air will take up a lot of the heat. So overall temperature will go down. So somehow it is related to that. So it means that to keep the overall temperature less, I have to do this. Okay, why we need to keep the overall temperature less? Because turbine blade material is fixed. Like this you have to understand, not by memorizing. Any question? So this effect also is minor, about 1 to 2%. Okay, 2%, around 2%. And what is the effect? This actually has a positive effect on the turbine work output, because the mass flow rate in the turbine increases. Your work output is m dot g into CPG into T3 minus T4. So work output of the turbine increases. Okay, has a positive effect on the turbine work output. Because of this, there is a positive effect. So final point with which we will conclude today's class is that combustion itself is not 100% efficient. Although it is very near to 100% efficient, because of using lean mixture, as I was just describing now. If you have studied IC engine, you know that the combustion efficiency is near about 90%. Okay, there are combustion efficiency is lower in IC engines because you use a rich mixture or near stoichiometric mixture, and there are localized pockets where there are unburned hydrocarbons, unburned fuel, because the fuel and air does not get 100% mixed thoroughly. Some local points are there where the fuel remains in fuel, like without proper mixing, in rich state. So it does not get the full amount of oxygen needed for full combustion. As a result, some hydrocarbon remains unburned. But in this case of gas turbine, because so much air is available, all the fuel gets almost the entire fuel gets sufficient oxygen for combustion. Okay, and the combustion chambers are designed in such a way that sufficient residence time is there. So almost 100% combustion occurs. The combustion efficiency, which we will define formally in a minute, but the combustion efficiency is almost around 98 to 99%. Okay, so only around say 1% loss occurs. So how is the combustion efficiency defined? It is defined as the ratio of actual heat that is inputted to the air or to the gases divided by the calorific value of the fuel. Okay, you have a certain amount of fuel which has a certain calorific value. How much of this calorific value you are going to use to increase the energy of the combustion products? Okay, so if I can use 99% of the calorific value of the fuel in increasing the energy of the combustion products, my combustion efficiency is 99% or 0.99%, and in our case it is around 98 to 99%. Okay, so mathematically this is different. So again I will say that you follow this formula and not what is given in Ganeshan. Okay, they have given in a simplistic way using lot of approximation, but this is the more accurate formula. Okay, more accurate or more intuitive formula. This is also given in the Syed Ahmed book. Okay, so you use this formula, not what is given in Ganeshan. Okay, where they just take, they don't take separate CP value or something like that. We will take separate values. Okay, so what is the efficiency? What is the inlet energy to the combustion chamber? If there is no regenerator, what is the inlet energy to the combustion chamber? Per unit mass flow rate. What will be the temperature to the inlet of the combustion chamber? I will finish in 2-3 minutes. Okay, I am sorry I got delayed again today. I will finish in 2-3 minutes. This is the last line. What is the inlet temperature of the combustion chamber? If there is no regenerator, it is T02.
T02.
Okay, so inlet energy Cp into T02 per unit mass flow rate. Okay, per unit mass flow rate. So if you divide by m dot A. What is the outlet energy from the combustion chamber? What is the temperature from the outlet temperature from the combustion chamber? It is T03. What is the Cp? It is Cp of gas. Okay, not Cp of air. We have denoted it as Cp of gas. What is the mass flow rate here? It is not 1. It is 1 plus F per unit mass flow rate of air, right? That is what we have just now discussed. It is 1 plus F per unit mass flow rate of air. So the outlet energy per unit mass flow rate of air is 1 plus F into Cp of gas into T03. Okay, so the change of energy is 1 plus F into Cp of gas into T03 minus Cpa T02. So this is the change in energy. What is the calorific value that is input to the combustion chamber? Per unit mass flow rate of air, the amount of fuel that is injected is F. Okay, so if the actual fuel inlet mass flow rate is m dot F per unit mass flow rate of air, this is m dot F by m dot A, which is equal to F, fuel air ratio. So F is the amount of fuel injected per unit amount of air. This into calorific value of fuel. Calorific value of fuel is say 44 megajoule per kg of fuel. So some value, some energy value per kg of fuel. This is the energy released when you combust the fuel, when you have combustion of the fuel, this is the combustion, enthalpy of combustion of the fuel, this QCV, okay, calorific value of the fuel. So this is how you define the combustion efficiency. In some of the books, you will see that they do not take separate CPG and CPA, or they do not take this 1 plus F. They just take eta V is equal to Cp T03 minus T02 by F into QCV. That is a very approximate calculation, C into T03 minus T02 by F into QCV. We will take this more accurate representation in our course, for the entire course after, from this point onwards. Okay. So any problem that is given, even in Ganeshan also you solve like this. Your results will be different, but will be more accurate. So we will have covered all the points that actually by which the real cycles differ from the ideal cycles. So in the next class, I will try to show you 1 or 2 solved problems. We will discuss 1 or 2 problems so that you can solve similar problems in the exam, and we'll finish. So I think we have covered a lot of material today. Most probably tomorrow we will not need any extra time. The time 1 hour itself should be sufficient, because we have covered so many things today. So in case you get delayed, we may take 5-10 minutes extra, but I think we will be able to cover in 1 hour. We have sufficient time tomorrow to finish the part before the midterm. Okay. So any questions? I will start taking the attendance. If you have any questions, you can ask me meanwhile. These notes are already shared through MS Teams. All the notes are there from the beginning classes, and it is structured as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you have the slides and the first problem set. Okay. I will stop the recording.